Okay, pho is by far my favorite Vietnamese food. It's what I look forward to the most when I come home. It's really hard to find good pho at Vietnamese restaurants in Nashville. Vien Pho in Delhi is the only one that I actually like, then there are some others that I'm just okay with. My whole life I've been asking my mom to help me figure out how to make pho in a way that I could actually make it, because when my mom makes a big pot of beef pho, it can take 3 different grocery stores to get all of the ingredients, and it's a lot of stuff and it takes a long time to make good pho, so it's never been worth the effort for just one person, so I've never tried it before. For Christmas, my mom gave us all a magic chicken pho recipe that's pretty much foolproof, and she gave us all kits so that we could make it ourselves. But I moved back to Nashville just to move out, so I hadn't done it yet. And yesterday my mom and I came home and we were like, we need pho, we haven't had it in too long, it's just time. And so she was like, okay, well, I'll get it started. And I was like, no, I want to make it from start to finish. So the only thing my mom's done is get 4 quarts of water boiling in the pot for me and air fry a couple of the aromatics. So her recipe calls for 2 onions air fried between 20 and 25 minutes. If you don't have an air fryer, when I was growing up, we just put them directly on a gas burner and lit the stove. My roommate Bailey was always like, what is happening down there? It smells so good. If you can't do that, you can just wrap it in tin foil and put it, she's got induction burners now, so just wrapped in tin foil will do, or you can kind of roast it on a sheet pan in high heat in the oven, if that's what you need to do. So it's 2 onions, just remove the outer skins, so she says the first 2 layers. Roasting it like this makes it a lot sweeter and releases a lot of like the oils and flavors. Right, Mom?
That's right.
Okay. Ew, it's sticky. Okay.
That's perfect.
1 down into the pot.
You don't have to take all the skin off. Just a little bit of the brown is good because it has that caramelized.
And why would you say remove 2 layers?
Because most of the time the layers just.
Alright, I'll leave some of this crackly brown
There
on
you
there.
go. Perfect.
Alright, then she says a 1/4 pound of fresh ginger. It's like a small hand's worth. This is a little extra wrinkly because it's been in the air fryer. But then just chop it into, how big? 1/4 inch slices. I'm spatially challenged, but we're just gonna go with big chunks. That work, Mom?
Yeah.
Oh, that is way bigger than a 1/4 chunk. Eh. It won't kill you. It's easier to fish out. Okay, so now the ginger is then cut into little chunks and put in the water. So 2 small oranges or tangerines. My mom will put anything with a lot of sugar content in the pho. Sometimes I see apples and sometimes I see pears or carrots or random things that will release some natural sweetness. Then it's a tablespoon of salt, just 1 teaspoon of sugar. We use brown or turbinado, but it doesn't really matter. Then you cover the pot and let it simmer for 30 minutes. So we'll let that go. And then in the next wave, we'll do the chicken and prepare all of the herbs to serve it with. Okay, I'm preparing the ginger dipping sauce. We had 2 large pieces of ginger like this that I peeled, and then I sliced into little slices like this, and then I cut those down into these little strips. And we are going to saute all of it in some olive oil on medium heat. I hate touching raw meat. I like straight up refuse. So my mom makes fun of me. She washed the chicken for me because I really didn't want to. But she says you can get the whole chicken in the water just using tongs.
And you can wash it like this. Just rinse it over water just like this. And then just do this. You're not even touching it at all.
And do the guts go in?
Yes, all of that goes in.
Alright. The guts go in.
And first we're going to boil it uncovered. And bring it to a boil. And let it get all that foamy thing. And then skim that. And then put the cover up.
Okay. The air fryer has my mom putting everything she can possibly put in it now. And that includes the aromatics. So you can totally dry toast these in a pan on the stove. It just helps release the oils and flavors. But if you wrap it in tin foil and put it in the air fryer for about 15 minutes, you don't really have to watch it or babysit it. But we have 1 1/2 sticks of cinnamon, And then 4 cloves, 8 to 10 star anise, which look like this and kind of taste like licorice. And then there are 2 tablespoons of coriander seeds, 2 tablespoons of fennel, and 2, it says nutmeg pods, but it doesn't really look like nutmeg to me. You just smash it so that it releases the flavors, but I will find this packaging and show it to you next. So just wrap it up, put it in the air fryer or dry toast it, and you should be in good shape for the next. I swear I have had dates that have been shorter than the time that I've spent dealing with this ginger. If you have better knife skills than me, slightly thinner will be a little bit easier for you to eat. But get some olive oil going in a pan on medium heat and get to sauteing. I've been skimming all the fat off and I am about to cover the pho pot. The aromatics are almost done toasting and we are about to add them to the party. All right, so we have the ginger still sauteing over here. The amount of water looked a little low. You want to make sure that the chicken is submerged and so is the steeping ball. So feel free to keep an eye on that and keep adding water so that you can maintain that level. Cover and cook for another 30 minutes. Everything that we've done to this point can be done the night before. So once you put the chicken in and cover it, you cook it for about 30 minutes and then you can cut the heat and leave it overnight. And then when you get up the next day, you just take the chicken out and you start with this step. That way those flavors really develop and the chicken stays really tender. But right now I have all of the herbs and spices that will fit in a little steeping ball. So this looks like a giant tea steeper. It's got the star anise, the coriander, the fennel, the cardamom pods. The cinnamon sticks don't fit, but it's okay because it's easy to fish those out. If you don't have a steeping ball, you could tie it in a cheesecloth and fish it out, but it's pretty important to keep it separate from the broth so that you don't have to have it in every bite that you eat. If you don't have either of those things and you don't want to go get them, you could just throw them in the pot, but you're going to want to strain each ladleful of broth before you stir it, before you serve it, because it's really foul. We also add in 2 chicken bouillon cubes just to help the flavor. Cover that and let it go for how long, Mom?
30 minutes.
Okay, so 30 minutes, which means we are having a very late dinner. Thanks for hearing me, Mom. Ginger still going. Definitely food process it. That was torture. But we've got this. So the chicken cooked for 30 minutes in the broth that didn't have any aromatics in it. Then we kept skimming, opened the lid, put the aromatics in, and let it go for 10 minutes and let it hit a pretty hard boil. So you want it to be really hot and some steam escaping this pan. And then you want to cut the heat and let the carryover cooking and all of the flavors steep in this pot. So don't open the lid, you'll let all the magic out. The ginger sauce is still going. It's literally just thinly sliced ginger and olive oil at this point, and I'm trying to get it all this nice caramelized color.
So you keep that covered for at least an hour and a half.
Okay, so
or overnight.
An hour and a half or overnight for this chicken situation. Here's what you serve with your pho. Always cilantro, lime wedges, chili peppers. These are thinly sliced Thai chilies, but any chilies that you can find, serrano, jalapeno, they'll work. Thai basil is what you want here, but you can't get it at a normal grocery store, so regular sweet Italian basil will be fine. And you usually serve it with bean sprouts, but they didn't have any. I don't like them in my soup because it cools it down, so you can always microwave it with a little bit of water and put the steamed bean sprouts in there and it won't do that. You are always serving with sriracha and hoisin sauce and Tabasco sauce. I only eat these 2 because I am me. And I will keep babysitting this ginger and we will finish making that sauce when it's all uniformly caramelized. Okay, so to finish the dipping sauce, you're going to use a little agave, soy sauce, sesame oil.
I would say about a teaspoon of one of these baby spoons.
Okay, so a teaspoon of soy sauce.
Yeah. And just a little bit of this. It goes a long way.
Yeah.
So I would say 1/4 of a teaspoon, like that.
Okay.
Okay. And then just a drop. I'm not a big fan of sugar, so just like that of sugar, of agave.
And sugar is a decent substitute.
Yeah. And then you can put the lime in there.
So just a lime wedge,
Yeah.
juice a lime wedge.
Just not that much.
Oh, half?
Yeah.
Okay. So just a little squeeze of lime to give it some acid. If you don't want to do lime, you can use rice wine vinegar. And then you are just adding a heaping spoonful of the ginger. Now, you mix the sauce separate from the ginger because you can use the ginger in other things. Sauteed like this, it'll keep for about 2 weeks in the refrigerator. This sauce is really good on chicken in general, so even if you're not making pho, if you get a rotisserie chicken or you steam some chicken and eat it with veggies, this dipping sauce is awesome. It's good for vegetarians and vegans too. You could dip tofu in it, some roasted vegetables, really just play with it and make it tasty. Okay, so the chicken has been simmering with the lid on and the heat off for an hour and a half. And now it's time to take that bird out. Okay, so let him rest so the juices stay in when you serve it. And then add 2 tablespoons of fish sauce to the soup pot. That's optional. Fish sauce does have a strong fishy flavor, but it adds a lot to the soup, so I would give it a shot.
And we wait to the end because the smell of fish sauce permeates the house, so we don't want to keep cooking for an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. And that is your pho. It may not look much, but when you combine everything together, it's magic.
Okay, Mom. That's the magic pho recipe. This is what was left from what we made of ginger sauce. So, and it'll keep in the fridge for 2 weeks. You can cut less, but we always wind up wanting more than we think we do. So make yourself a generous portion. You can buy pho noodles fresh in the refrigerator section of the Asian grocery store, or you can buy it dehydrated in packages. The dehydrated kind will have to be reconstituted in boiling water on the stove. You'd cook it like spaghetti and make sure you do it al dente. If you do it fresh, just rinse it so that any starch or preservatives comes off, and then put it in a bowl with some thinly sliced green onion and yellow onion. My mom gets fancy and cuts it a whole bunch of different ways. So microwave it for a minute and then add your chicken and more green onions. So this is the difference. These noodles have been microwaved for a minute. They're nice and soft and pliable. And these are fresh out of the package and very unappealingly dry. So make sure you get them nice and soft because they don't reconstitute super well in the broth if you don't give it a head start in the microwave. So Mom cuts the chicken nice and thin so that you can dip it in the sauce while you're eating. Okay, this is my first pot of magic chicken pho that I have ever made. So your bowl is prepped with the chicken and the green onions and the noodles. Get yourself some broth. Taste it and make sure that it's salty enough because you are adding water to make sure that you're keeping that chicken covered. Sometimes you just need to make slight adjustments to the salinity. The fish sauce has a decent amount of salt in it too, so hopefully it evens itself out. But just give it a taste and adjust so that it's something you want to dive into. We call it magic soup. It's something we all look forward to. I eat way more broth on mine than most people do. My mom always gives me the bowl and I'm like, one more scoop. Because I'm in it for her magic broth.
When we are sick, when we are tired.
I can't remember a time that I've ever come home and my mom hasn't had a pot of pho waiting on the stove. Whenever my brother and sister and I come over for Christmas, the first thing we ask for is a giant pot of pho, and my mom's like, aren't you tired of it yet? But no, we want it every meal until it's gone. So now your pho is ready to add your fresh aromatics and enjoy. All right, so just rip up your basil leaves so that they are manageable. Like I said, we prefer the Thai basil, but it's not worth a special grocery store trip. So regular sweet basil is fine. Some cilantro, just break it up a little bit because you're never going to want to fish all those pieces out. All right, squeeze of lime juice. I like just a splash of fish sauce at the end. And people make fun of me for how much sriracha I like. They're like, you spent all that time making a clear broth and you put tons of sriracha, but it has magical healing powers, and if you were congested at all, you will not be any longer after eating pho the way I make it. A couple drops of Tabasco and some fresh chilies, and enjoy. Okay, Mom, do you have any last minute advice you want to share about pho?
This is an amazing bowl, Lissa.
All right.
Not bad for your first time ever.
I did it. I made it by myself. No, I needed a lot of supervision, but it's fine because now you have a video for supervision too. I am working on updating the recipe, what my mom sent. We made a couple of tweaks too, but it's really good and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, this is where chopsticks come in really handy. You're going to want a big spoon. The plastic Asian spoons are a lot easier to get broth and noodles to your mouth, but you're going to want to just pick up some noodles with your chopsticks, put it on your spoon, grab some herbs or other delicious things that catch your eye, and dunk it in the broth and eat it. You're gonna wanna pick up the chicken and dunk it in your sauce. I think I could have used a little bit more of the liquid. It's had some time to absorb here, so I'll probably fix it up. But all that fresh ginger really adds a lot to it. If you are not super chopstick proficient, no judgment. My Chinese little sister isn't great with chopsticks. But what we do for little kids is cut the noodles up into little pieces that are more manageable. So just using some kitchen scissors and cutting them means you can just pick it up with the spoon. I've seen Vietnamese places offer forks, so you kind of eat it like spaghetti. You twirl the noodles with a fork and dunk it in the spoon. You gotta do what you gotta do to get it in your face. It's totally worth it. We won't judge you for how you eat it, but hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, drop me a message. I'm happy to help or ask somebody that can, but good luck. My mom has a serious pho pot. She doesn't mess around when she makes it, but the recipe that she gave us makes enough for 6 to 8 bowls. We ate our 2, and I took out broth for my brother and my grandma to deliver. So there's just a couple of bowls left. You can leave it in the pot on the stove covered overnight. Just make sure you bring it to a boil and skim all of see the oil that's starting to percolate on top. Make sure you skim the oil and fat and the foam before you serve, and you should be in good shape.